Hi again, Risa here, back with another episode of Ask Risa. I'm a wedding planner located in Sacramento, California. My company is Risa James Events, and every week I put together a short video to help people who are trying to plan their wedding, just give them tips and advice and things to think about. This is episode 20 of this series. You can find previous episodes on a playlist on my YouTube channel. Just search for Risa James Events, and all of these episodes are combined into one playlist. So way back in episode 6, I was talking about hiring a caterer and some things to think about. And I briefly touched on a topic that I want to expand on today. And that is a buffet style service versus a pre-plated dinner served tableside. Because this is a big decision that you have to make when you are thinking about what to serve and how to serve it for dinner at your wedding. I don't have a strong opinion on this. If you watched my video on bands versus DJs, you know that I definitely prefer DJs over bands. But when it comes to dinner service, I have fewer strong opinions. I'm just going to lay out some pros and cons for both approaches for you. So I'll take buffet first. The main advantage to doing a buffet for dinner is that you give your guests a lot more options. You can have multiple entrees that everyone can have. They don't have to pick just one entree. So if you have some sort of meat and a fish, they can have both if they want both, instead of having to choose between them. You can do food stations, which can be super fun. You can do like a carving station with prime rib, which is pretty common. And you can do like a sushi station, or you can do a pasta station, or a grilled cheese station where there's a chef who just makes grilled cheese custom ordered with whatever kind of cheese and bread you want. I saw that done at a friend's wedding and it was amazing. You can do, I have a client doing like a potato bar where we're doing baked potatoes with a whole array of toppings, and everyone can just make their own, like build your own potato, basically. So that's gonna be really fun. So you just get a lot more possibilities with a buffet. Also, if your guests are picky eaters, then they only end up with the foods that they like. So if they get a pre-plated meal served to them, they're just getting what's on that plate. They're getting whatever vegetable you chose, they're getting whatever salad you chose, whatever. They don't have really any say in the matter beyond maybe choosing the entree. But at a buffet, if they don't like onions, like I don't like onions, and there's something that looks like it has a lot of onions in it, they're just not going to take it, and then they don't have to worry about it. So you just give more control to your guests. Similarly, portion sizes. Not everybody eats the same amount of food. So if you have a buffet, people can take the amount of food that's appropriate for them. And if you have a pre-plated meal, everyone's getting the same amount of food regardless of their needs or wants. It's also easier for you as the couple hosting the wedding if you do a buffet, because there's a lot less information that you need to keep track of. So if you're doing a pre-plated tableside meal with every guest getting one entree, you want to give them some amount of choice. So you usually have a selection of 2 or 3 entrees. Usually one of those is a vegetarian choice. And you put those on the response card, and then people check off which meal they want. Okay, great. But now you need to keep track of that information. You have to keep track of every single guest and what they ordered for dinner, because you have to turn that information over to your caterer. Not only do you have to turn that information over to your caterer, but you also have to prepare individualized cards so that the caterers know who gets which meal at the table. So some venues and caterers will do that just with escort cards. So the escort card, I've talked about this before, is the card that tells guests which table they're sitting at. So, you do a little individual tinted card and has their name and a table number, and then some sort of indicator, either a sticker or a stamp of some sort. There's all kinds of people who make these to indicate whether they got beef, chicken, fish, vegetarian, whatever your choices were. And so then they take that card to the table and they put it down in front of them, and then the waitstaff comes and they know this person is getting fish. Some venues and caterers actually require you to have assigned seats at the table. They want a map ahead of time. So not only do you have to assign people to tables, you have to assign them to a specific seat. And you have to map out who is sitting where at every table for your entire wedding. And if you have a large guest list, that can get out of control really fast. So in that case, you have a place card. A place card sits on the table and tells people which seat is theirs. And so then the caterer will know ahead of time, okay, we've got fish, 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 chicken, 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 vegetarian, fish, fish, chicken, chicken, that sort of thing. But it's also right there on the table, so when they bring the meals out, they know where they're going. So it requires a little bit more logistical planning on your part to do a tableside pre-plated dinner than it does to do a buffet. Also, sometimes doing a buffet can require fewer service staff from the caterer or the venue if the catering's done in-house, because when you serve a meal tableside, you want to have enough wait staff so that it doesn't take all night to serve dinner. I mean, if you have 200 people, it takes a long time to get 200 meals out, so you need multiple wait staff to bring out a bunch of meals all at once. With a buffet, you still have some wait staff because there will still be people who will be filling water glasses, pouring wine tableside, clearing dishes, and then you've got people who are managing the buffet, either serving things out or replenishing the chafing dishes as they need more food, or in the case of like a carving station or a grilled cheese station, you have the chefs who are taking care of that food station. But it's generally fewer people than you need for a plated tableside service. And so that saves you money because you're paying for fewer people, and then if you're doing gratuities, then you have fewer gratuities at the end of the night. So that's another advantage to a buffet. On the other hand, a pre-plated dinner served tableside is definitely the more elegant, sophisticated approach to serving dinner at your wedding. And think about dining in a restaurant. It's always fancier if you go to a restaurant and they have nice tablecloths and, you know, they have wait staff and they come take your order and then they bring your food to you and they come and check on you, versus dining at a buffet establishment. Like, you know, Golden Corral is the first one that comes to mind. You know, you just get your plate, you go up, you get your food, you come back, and there's very little interaction with the service staff at that point. So it's a totally different kind of vibe. Also, it can be a little easier if you have guests with dietary restrictions to manage those with individual meals plated in the kitchen versus a buffet. So if you have gluten-free guests and they're going to need a gluten-free meal, instead of making the entire buffet gluten-free, then it's easier to just have a couple of meals prepared in the kitchen that are gluten-free. But this is definitely something you want to discuss with your caterer. Any sort of dietary restrictions, you know, dairy-free, soy-free, gluten-free, egg-free, anything like that. If you know your guests have those restrictions, you should talk to your caterer and find out what they can do to accommodate that. And preferably you should, if you have a lot of people in that situation, a lot of guests, you should talk to your caterer before you hire them, just to make sure it is something that they can handle and accommodate. There's also sort of a hybrid approach to this where you kind of get the best of both worlds, and that is a multi-entree pre-plated dinner served tableside. So you still don't have to deal with the paperwork because you're not putting the entree choices on the RSVP card. You're not having to keep track of who wants what for dinner and, you know, present that to the caterer. You just do 2 entrees on the same plate. So maybe you do a pasta course with a chicken dish, or you do a fish and a steak, or like some sort of surf and turf combination. And that way everybody's getting the same food, but they have some choice in the matter as to what they eat. I mean, if they're super picky and they don't like anything, that's not your problem at that point. That's on them, and maybe they shouldn't be going to weddings. But you can at least give your guests a little bit of choice while still preserving the elegance of having the pre-plated meal served tableside. So when you're thinking about what to do, just think about the vibe of your wedding. What do you want your wedding to be like? Are you going for fun, relaxed, casual, where a buffet is totally going to be appropriate and fit in? Or are you trying to have a super fancy, elegant, sophisticated wedding? If you are, then you probably want to go with tableside service, despite some of the advantages I just laid out to buffet. It's all about what you want, but those are the things to think about. Those are the advantages and disadvantages, at least in my opinion. So that's it for this week. If you have any questions that you would like me to answer in the future, go ahead and leave a comment down below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, because that helps other people find it, other people out there trying to plan their wedding who might need help. And I will be back next week with another video. Until then, thanks.